Hello and welcome to a new art supply review video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Arteza Gouache paints. So I was sent these products by Arteza to try out, and this is the last of the products that I've got to try, and it's the gouache. And I'm going to be using them in this beautiful colouring book by Johanna Basford called Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, and this is the page that I'm doing. So I've been working as fast as I can to try and get this video up, because when Arteza sent me the products, they also sent me a 10% discount code for anybody who wants to purchase any of the products. You can get 10% off on their website, but it's running out of date on the 24th of July. So I still had the gouache paints to review and I wanted to quickly get them up. So it's 23rd of July today when this goes up, and I think this is the last day. I'm not quite sure if the 24th is included. I was just told up to the 24th, so possibly it might work on the 24th and finish on the 25th, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So if you do want to get the 10% discount, I would suggest doing it on today on the 23rd. So that discount code will be underneath in the video description, and there'll also be a link to the website as well. I'll also leave links to Amazon, because sometimes some of the products are cheaper on Amazon than they are on the Arteza website, and sometimes they're cheaper on the website. So with the 10% discount on the website, you might be able to get a bargain if you purchase them off there, but you'll just have to have a look and kind of work it out for yourself what would be the cheapest option. So it's a shame that I left these till last, because out of all the Arteza products that I've tried, I absolutely love these paints so much. I don't have that much experience with gouache paints. Well, I've only really kind of tried them a little bit, you know, like tested them out. I haven't done like a full picture, so I decided to do them in this colouring book, and I just absolutely love using them. I find it easier to control than watercolour paints. They're very opaque. If you don't know what gouache is, it's like a water-based paint, and it's very, very opaque. It feels a little bit like kind of a white emulsion that you would paint your walls with. It's kind of like a liquid chalk, and you can just keep layering it up. So you can put like white highlights on top of dark, as I'm showing here in the video. Not all of the colours are opaque. Like if you look at this pink here that I'm putting on now, it's the rose colour, and it's like a deep pink, and it's quite inky rather than opaque, because you can see it's not covering the lines. But then the lighter colours, like the white and the peach, they're very chalky, and they're, you know, they cover up what's underneath. But I noticed if I'd mixed some of the white into the pink and made it like that little bit more opaque, it was really difficult to get like the deep inky pink that I wanted on some of the parts, like in the shadows and stuff. So I found that if I, you know, used that neat just as it was, that's how I was able to achieve like the really dark, vibrant pink colour. So I think it's really handy that some of the colours aren't kind of like milky and opaque. You can see here with this flower how I've managed to get the really deep pink in them shadows. Now if that pink was opaque, I just wouldn't have got that depth of colour. So I actually thought that gouache paints were kind of like an acrylic paint, only one that you could reactivate again once it was dry. Now you can reactivate it again once it's dry, but it's just nothing like acrylic paint. I don't know if you've seen the picture that I did a few days ago, and I was using the acrylic paints, which I also enjoyed. You know, I really enjoyed using them, but it's just not the same. It's just really not the same. For this is really like thin and watery. And I know I keep saying opaque, opaque, opaque over and over again, but if you watered acrylic paint down as to the same kind of consistency that these are, it would be like a watercolour. It would be completely transparent. These just like, they're just so unusual, but like they're just so lovely to work with. I mean, you can cover the lines up in a colour. If you use them in a colouring book, you can cover the lines up and make it look kind of like a painting. I didn't cover all the lines up in this, but I mean, you could do that if you wanted to. Some of the lines did get covered up, such as that pink framework that I did. There was a lot of that kind of like got covered up, but because I was using like a purple on the outer edge anyhow that was a lot darker than the pink, it just didn't, you couldn't really tell, it didn't matter. So onto these little flowers that I'm doing now, these purple ones. By the time I got to this point in the picture, I was getting to like know the paints a lot more, and I realised that actually you can just blob the highlights down and leave them to completely dry. If you look at the stripy bits in the middle that I'm doing now, see how I'm just like adding the highlights and then just leaving it, and like that was like almost completely dry, and then I just went back in and blended it. There, you can see I'm blending it now. You can just like let them completely dry and then go back in and blend that out. And then because it blended out like a little bit too far, it was a little bit too chalky, in a couple of minutes you'll be able to see how I go back in. Oh, I'm doing it on the purple now. I go back in with some purple on the outer edges to darken them outer edges up a bit more and crisp them up a bit more. And then I'll do it on the pink, those pink stripes on the middle, the darker pink. You can see how I've blended out the white highlight, and I wanted it darker at the edges, so I just go back in with a bit of the dark pink and darken those edges back up again. You can just keep layering it over and over and over, and you can actually see how you can also lift it out. I painted the middles way too black, too dark. I didn't use the black, I just mixed it myself. It was like more of a dark bluey black, and then it was too black, so I lifted some of that back out again, added a little bit of white, and so like it's just so you can totally adjust what you've done. You know, you can lift it back out, or you can add more paint on top. Obviously when you're layering up, it's better to let your underneath layer dry, because if your underneath layer is wet and then you add more on top of that, it's going to mix in. But you can see here where I'm adding the dark pink to the edges of those little stripy bits. Okay, so I just absolutely love these paints, and now I'm worried they're going to take me away from my watercolour, and I chose watercolour as my like main art medium that I wanted to try and master, and now I absolutely love these. Maybe I should just use the gouache in the colouring books and then use watercolour just for like my own artwork, because I think I do have a struggle using watercolour in the colouring books. I mean, I've got like mediums that I use as a primer, such as clear gesso and the satin glazing fluid. They make the colouring books take the watercolour a lot better, but they don't make it like watercolour paper, and it's like so much easier to paint with watercolours on proper watercolour paper. But this has got to be the perfect medium for colouring books. I didn't use a primer at all. That's another thing I've actually forgot to mention. People always ask me if I use a primer when I use watercolours, and I usually do, depending on the type of paper. But I didn't use a primer on this because this colouring book's pretty thick paper, and yeah, just using this gouache on it was just absolutely easy. As you can see, that page has not buckled at all, because this isn't as watery as watercolour. It's it's obviously like a much more thicker it's not thick, it's runny, but it's not like as thin as water. So, and it dries pretty quick as well. So don't think it really has time to seep into the paper. So anyhow, that paper did not buckle at all. Maybe the thinner papers such as like the Anamorphia or the, well, just the thinner papers like the self-published colouring books from Amazon, possibly you would need a primer. But I can see that how this would work a lot better on the clear gesso and the satin glazing liquid. This I can just tell without even trying this all, because you don't do those watercolour techniques like the wetting wet and all that you do with watercolour. You don't do that with gouache. So and those are the things that are very difficult to do on the primers that I've been using. It's difficult to do the wetting wet techniques. The paint just doesn't kind of like spread out like it would on watercolour paper. So anyhow, this is the perfect paint for colouring books. It really, really is. Even better than the acrylic that I tried the other day. I think so anyhow. So I also have some of the Winsor & Newton gouache. I bought a set a while ago, but I mean, I swatched it out when I first got it, but I never really painted anything with it. I never tried it on like a full picture, so it's been sitting there all this time and I would have probably really enjoyed using it. So I mean, I can't compare this to the more expensive brands of gouache. Firstly, because I don't have that much experience. Maybe if I was really experienced, I might be able to tell some differences. There probably will be some differences because this is like, I think it's a lot cheaper than the other ones. But on the other hand, the Arteza products are really good. They're just really good for the price. So, I know another thing as well, I've heard other artists who are more experienced in gouache, I've seen their comments saying like they really love this one, so I'm presuming it's a really good one. So anyhow, I've talked enough about the gouache, so I'm just gonna give you a few little facts about this video that I've made, and I'm just gonna go through the process of what it took to make this video. So my camera records in 20-minute slots. It'll only record for 20 minutes, my video camera, so then I have to keep pressing record again, and I had 33 20-minute files, so all in all I had 11 hours of footage for painting this. So then what I do is I take those clips and I put them on my video editor, and I take away all the gaps. I cut all the gaps out, all the sometimes when I'm sitting watching YouTube videos, or I'm mix and paint, or possibly you can't see what I'm doing because it's off camera and I didn't realise. So cut all them bits out, and that took me about 4 hours to do all that, and I ended up with 5 hours of footage. So 5 hours of solid painting. So then I have to speed the footage up to shorten the video to a reasonable length, and then I have to render the video. So I just literally click produce on the, once I've got all my clips sorted out, I click produce, it renders the video. That took about 2 to 3 hours because my computer's quite slow. And then I have to add the voiceover on afterwards, which is what I'm doing now, and it's 4:53 in the morning. So now I'm adding this voiceover onto that video that I've just rendered, and then I'm going to have to render it again to kind of add the voiceover onto the actual video. Unfortunately, my computer's not fast enough to do it both at the same time, so I have to make the video and then add the voiceover afterwards. Anyhow, it's all done now and I can go to bed, and then I will upload this when I get up tomorrow, which will be around about dinner time, I suppose. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've absolutely loved working with these paints, and I loved how my picture turned out. In fact, I think it's my favourite colouring that I've done so far. I'm really pleased with it, and thank you very much for watching.